Hi, trumpet fans. Thanks for joining me again for another episode of Arban exercises. We're getting to the point in the book now where the exercises are kind of running out, and then you have, of course, the characteristic studies and a great many tunes. The top 100 from 1865 or whatever. And there are a lot of really cool things in there, and I might do some videos on that. But it seems that most of you are more interested in technique and skills than you are in music. So I want to talk a little bit about double tonguing today. Double tonguing and triple tonguing are very similar. I did a video on triple tonguing, and I only just barely scratched the surface on that. And there are a lot of things that you need to consider with multiple tonguing, but it's pretty simple. You're either using a T consonant or a K consonant. Now, some people would say, no, that's not it. It should be a D or a G. And actually, if you think about it, if you say T, D, T, D, your tongue can be doing exactly the same thing. Same with a K or a G. The only difference is that you actually start vocalizing D, T, as you're pronouncing the consonant. As the D is closed, you start vocalizing. And then when you start the sound D, then you release after you've already started the sound. And the T, the sound doesn't start until after you release. So the way that translates to trumpet, some people find it very helpful to think duh instead of tuh, because a tuh, there's no sound when we vocalize. So just do whatever works for you. That's the best advice I can give you. Now I'm going to play a few of these exercises, and they're not complicated. What is complicated is the physical skills that are involved. Now everybody can say taka taka ta or dugga dugga da. Almost everybody can do that pretty easily, and even probably do it pretty fast. Why is it so difficult to do it on the trumpet? Well, that's where we get into the mechanics. And these are things, the mechanics are something that I have a great deal to say about, but it's difficult to do it in a video. I might start chipping away at it at some time in the future. But for now, let's just see what we can get done with your work on double tonguing. Now, most of you know, if you're an accomplished player, if you've been playing for a long time, you've studied with someone, you've taken private lessons, you've played in ensembles, so you have a lot of experience. In one sense, you're an expert, and that's great. You really need to consider yourself an expert. But what kind of expert? What's the level of quality that you're able to produce? So that's what I'm always looking for, is like, what quality can I make? What constitutes quality in double tonguing? Let me go play a few. And again, I haven't prepared these. I'm just flipping through the book and seeing things that we should look at. And I know for a fact that I'm going to run into some things that I would definitely need to practice. But I should be able to play the first exercises. So here we go. So there's some qualities in there that you want to be listening for when you practice. One is the pitch doesn't change. What do you mean? Well, let me play another one, and I'll let you hear my double tongue. Now that's pretty ridiculous, but I hope you heard it was do good, do good. So a very simple target that you want to be aiming at all the time is the pitch should be just as stable, just as free. The sound should be just as free and vibrant. It should be just as musically graceful or beautiful, whether you're tonguing or not. So that's a high value quality thing to aim at. So if I just played it without the tongue, well, that's pretty easy, but I actually have to concentrate in order to sing forth the sound equally throughout the register. For most people, you're going to have to start to notice There's a little bit of conflict when you feel a little bit of effort when you get near the top of the staff, and especially above the staff. This is amplified a little bit when you're tonguing. So if you can do it that way, great. I'm going to go ahead and tongue it and see if it works as well. So you noticed at the end, I was just sustaining some of the time and then tonguing. And I really find this to be extremely helpful. Your brain works well by comparisons. So when I sustain the sound and it feels like, oh yes, I'm singing free, everything is balanced. I like the musical qualities that I'm hearing. So I'm getting feedback that I'm comfortable with. Then I want that to compare that to what it sounds like with the tonguing. This is one of the best things you can do when you're practicing these things. Now, what are some of the other things besides making sure that the pitch stays even and the sound stays even? People talk about the articulation, the quality of the sound of the articulation, but you need to think in terms of, break it down a little bit. You have the beginning of the note, and of course that happens extremely quickly. So you have to really listen carefully for it, but it's the beginning of the note, or some people call it the front. Then you have the body of the note, and that constitutes, if there is a shape, that's where the shape takes place, and then you have the release of the note. So there are a couple of basic ways to practice these, and the first one is the most essential, I would say. Play always sustained. You can separate the notes as much as you want, but you must have a sustained airstream going through. So let me play another one, just for a little variation. This one's in 6/8. This is number 79 in my edition. So I just played, I don't know, 8-10 bars, something like that. And you can hear the melody, right? Nice. That's what you should be concentrating on. Once you get the tonguing sounding good, then you should be concentrating always on the line and the direction, the sustaining of the sound. So I'm going to go ahead and tongue it. Let's see. Let me take a tempo here. It says 72. All right, so that's 72 to the dotted quarter note on number 79. Before I play it again, I want you to listen to something that you might hear if you were playing this only with the air alone. In other words, if you go, you might hear instead of so one of the key things is, as far as the physical aspect, is are you sustaining a completely undisturbed free flow of the air? Or is it the air being chopped? And this is a problem that most younger players have, beginning players have, whether they're young or not. And it's a problem that we all have to deal with because it's a natural tendency to stop the air with the tongue. This is a mechanical thing, but we tend to naturally do that. That's why I played it slurred, connected first. Now I'm going to try and tongue it, but I'm not going to concentrate on the tonguing. This is the point. I'm not going to concentrate on the tonguing. I'm going to concentrate on playing and do that melodic idea. Okay, that's pretty good. At least I thought it was pretty good. Maybe when I listen to it on the recording, I won't. But it felt pretty relaxed, and smooth. So that's something you're looking for. Now, you may say to yourself, well, you know, that doesn't sound very clean. It doesn't sound very articulated. So we start with the sound, and then we see what we can do with the articulation. Now, of course, articulation, what does that mean? Well, look it up in the dictionary. You'll get several definitions. But it has to do with various parts. Like, think of your spine is a whole collection of vertebrae, separate bones that are articulated. They work together as one. That's exactly what we're doing here. We're defining the individual notes. So let me go ahead and play it. I'm going to go back and forth between playing it more sustained or legato style and playing it more separated style. Now that's, you'll probably find, if you're like me, you'll probably find that when you try to separate more, instead of, you're going, and the tongue is working much harder and kind of jamming the air up so that it's not flowing easily. When that happens, your chops can feel that you don't have enough support, that they're not getting the air flow in order to vibrate freely, so they start tightening up a little bit. You feel the insecurity in the vibration, and you might start pushing the air harder. You sense that something is off, and for security, you put a little bit more mouthpiece pressure on. These are all critical elements that happen automatically and unconsciously because you sense a lack of control. So when you work on these, especially the simple ones, play them slowly enough first. Oh, let's see where I am with my tempo. Ta-ka-ta-ka-ta, ta-ka-ta-ka-ta, ta-ka-ta-ka-ta. Okay, that might seem pretty moderate, and if you're like me, you like to go fast. So what's the top tempo? Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Now, if I'm honest with myself, that was a little rough. Yeah, I can tongue fast enough, but as a result, I tightened up. So keep in mind, these books, the Arban book, the Clark book, are designed to be progressive, and you have to choose in your practice to gradually increase the difficulty. It's okay to bang around and do what I just did, but be honest with yourself. Well, that was a little sloppy, and it's because it was a little tight. So I lost some of the quality. So I'm going to back it up until I can get that quality again. And that's the way you need to practice these things. Now let's jump ahead and see what I can find here. Yeah, boy, it's been a long time since I looked at that. See, these are things, again, a confession. I go through a book, any book. Let's say it's a book of etudes, like the Charlier, or the Brandt, or the Bousquet. And I go through the book and I notice, oh, this is hard to do. And that tells me, oh, there's something there that I don't have the necessary skill, or I don't understand it, or I'm not thinking about it properly. I need to work on that. I need to discover how to improve that. So in the Arban book, what I've done is I've gone through and put little stars by exercises that I should practice. And I haven't looked at this in ages, but there are some stars by number 96 and 97, and then 102. So I'm just going to play a little bit of those, and you'll get the idea immediately. Now, of course, you know the progression. You start taka-taka-ta, taka-taka-ta, taka. Great, simple, easy, manageable. Excellent. Then he starts adding more taka-takas, more extended, more length. And then he starts moving around more. Ta-ka-taka-ta, taka-taka-ta. And now at this point, now he's moving every 16th note. So the idea is gradually increasing the difficulty. But remember what I just said. Do not sacrifice the quality in order to go faster or even in order to get the notes to come out. It's about the quality of the sound, the ease of response, the smoothness of the connection, the musical sense that it makes to you. These are all the important things. So let me see if I can do this one. This starts on a pickup, so it's ta-ta-ka-ta. And let's see, he says 92 for the bottom tempo. Haha. Okay, I might need to go a little slower than that. I'm playing a wrong note. See, I'm already off because I'm not playing in the right key. So it's in F, I got to B flat. I need to slow that down. And before I even play it again, I'm going to see if I can hear it. So I got off a little bit. Maybe it's a reading thing. I don't know. But one thing I do know, I don't know the music well enough. I can't hear it in my mind. Yeah, I need to hear the pitches first. So that's what I would do if I were practicing this. So I might practice it mentally. I think there might be some wrong notes in there. This pattern doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I'll have to go back and look at that later. Let me play another one. And this is, I think the pattern is pretty recognizable in this one. This is number 97. So now you have expanding intervals. I like expanding intervals. They're challenging, but when you add tonguing, they get even more challenging. I'm going to go through, when I go back and practice these, he said faithfully, I'm going to go through and see if I can find mistakes, because I'm hearing things that I'm not sure of whether this was what the author intended. And as I go through this book, I found quite a few. I'll point them out to you when I see them, where the pattern doesn't make sense. There's a wrong accidental, or the note is on the wrong space or line. But because this is a pretty predictable pattern. But I don't know this well enough to even be able to tell. So that's my first job. Before I start working on double tonguing and just slamming through things, I want to kind of sort it out, clean it up, and get so that I can play it as a sustained sound, make sure it's in my ear, memorize it if at all possible, and it's certainly possible, at least bar by bar or phrase by phrase, and then go back and and then combine that with the skill of doing the articulation. If the articulation is still a problem, you need to do a lot of sustaining on single pitches and move that through the range, and then start to get, more interested in what happens as you start jumping around rapidly. Now, it's fun to do this stuff, but it's quite challenging. So I'm just being honest here. These are not ready for public display. Oops. They're here for your encouragement. One more, and then I'll let you go try some of this stuff. This is 102. And now we're dealing with a pretty big change in range. That's where my challenge is. I'm a little bit tight, not letting the air flow easily enough. So Herbert Clark used to say, correct the least mistake immediately. I didn't do that. If we did that, that's one way of practicing. You call it meticulous practice. But before you just hack through on the trumpet, see if you can hear it, so you're correcting the mistakes mentally. You're recognizing, oh, I can't really picture that. I can't feel the way it feels when I play it. I can't hear the way it sounds when I play it. I actually need to play it on the trumpet in order to hear the notes. If that's the case, you're not really ready to practice it faster, for sure. And you need to learn it first. So all these are short. Most of them are three lines, let's say. So you can certainly memorize, you can certainly get these patterns in your ear, and that's great exercise. It's all practical stuff. Now, many of you, I realize, know this stuff. You want more information about the mechanics. Like I said, maybe I'll get to that later. It's challenging. I have a tremendous amount to say, but I'm trying to do it in such a way that it'll actually be helpful to you instead of confusing. So that's a challenge for me. I'm going to go ahead and try double tonguing that now, since I've got the basic pattern. That's interesting. I found that it was easier when I was tonguing. The tongue helps me with a little burst of air energy. If I'm slurring, that air energy has to be there in order to slur easily and successfully and with good control. And when I'm tonguing, the tongue tends to block the air. But if I can keep that flow, that control that I get by slurring, when I'm tonguing, then the tongue can lighten up. And that's the main problem that most people have with the double and triple tonguing. We go faster, we get tighter, we get stiffer, like I said before. And when you're doing that, you don't have this light, easy cornet style that sounds just as easy as if you were playing it on a clarinet. And any of you can imagine, like, it's so easy to do that physically on the instrument. It's just a matter of following the finger patterns and a wind gesture. Should be the same for us. We've got a lot of mechanical problems. So I'll give you a chance to go work on those mechanical problems now, and hopefully you can feel like you're making progress. When you're making progress, you're having fun. I hope. I'll see you next time. Thanks for staying with me, and join me again, or explore on the channel and see what you can find. Have a good day. Bye-bye.